The scream echoed across the valley just before dawn. Hunters dropped their spears. Guards abandoned their watch posts. Every eye turned toward the black wall of trees known as the Forbidden Forest. No one entered that forest and returned, not in living memory. Yet someone was walking out of it. A young woman stumbled through the mist-covered trees. Her clothes were torn. Mud stained her hands. Thin cuts marked her arms, but she carried no weapon and showed no fear. The villagers gathered at the edge of the valley, whispering in alarm. Impossible, one elder breathed. She should be dead. Another said. The woman took another step forward, then another behind her. The forest seemed unnaturally silent, as if even the birds' fear were followed. Then a horn blasted from the ridge above. Alpha King Takoda arrived with his riders. The crowd parted immediately. Takoda's sharp eyes settled on the stranger. For a moment, neither spoke. Then a frightened guard pointed a spear at her. She came from the cursed woods, he shouted. She could be the reason our scouts vanished. Several others raised their weapons. The woman swayed on her feet, but said nothing. A strange mark glimmered faintly on her wrist. Takoda noticed it. His expression changed. Before anyone could move, he stepped between the woman and the crowd. The valley fell silent. No one touches her, the Alpha King declared. Shock swept through the gathering. The woman looked up at him with exhausted eyes. Then she whispered for words that turned the blood cold in every listener. They are coming back. And far inside the Forbidden Forest, something answered with a roar. I'll write Act 1 as a standalone draft section. The roar rolled across the valley like distant thunder. Every person standing near the edge of the Forbidden Forest froze. Some stepped backward. Others tightened their grip on their weapons. Alpha King Takoda did neither. He remained in front of the mysterious woman, his broad shoulders forming a shield between her and the frightened crowd. Years of leadership had taught him that fear could be more dangerous than any beast. Lower your weapons, he ordered. The command carried across the valley. Reluctantly, the guards obeyed. The woman swayed again. Her legs finally gave out beneath her. Takoda caught her before she struck the ground. Gasps spread through the crowd. No ruler of Sky Ridge Valley had ever touched a stranger from the Forbidden Forest, much less protected one. Bring a healer, Takoda said. A young woman pushed through the gathering. Her name was Ayana, the valley's most skilled healer. Calm and intelligent, she was respected for her knowledge, though her stubborn nature often brought her into arguments with village elders. Kneeling beside the stranger, Ayana examined the cuts on her arms. She is exhausted, Ayana said, but these wounds are not what concern me. Takoda glanced at the faint mark glowing on the stranger's wrist. You see it too? Ayana nodded. I have never seen a symbol like it. Before they could speak further, another figure approached. Chaitin, captain of the Valley Guard, stood tall and watchful, loyal to Takoda since childhood. He possessed unmatched courage but often distrusted outsiders. She could be dangerous, Chaitin warned quietly. She could, Takoda agreed. Then why protect her? Takoda looked toward the dark forest. Because she warned us. The answer did little to ease Chaitin's concern. Above them, Sky Ridge Valley stretched between towering cliffs and silver rivers. Small farms covered the lower slopes. Wooden watchtowers guarded the mountain paths. For generations, the valley's people had lived in peace by respecting one rule: never enter the Forbidden Forest. No one knew who created the rule. No one remembered when it began. But every story ended the same way. Those who ignored it never returned. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Takoda carried the unconscious woman toward the council hall. Waiting there was Elder Matto, the oldest advisor in the valley, wise and patient. Matto had guided leaders for decades, yet worry darkened his weathered face as he listened to the reports. This changes everything, Matto said. Takoda agreed. 3 scouts had disappeared near the forest during the previous month. Now a stranger had emerged from the same woods, carrying an unknown mark and a terrifying warning. They are coming back. The words echoed in his mind. Who was coming? And why now? Outside, storm clouds gathered above the cliffs. Inside the hall, the mysterious woman finally opened her eyes. The room fell silent. Takoda stepped forward. "Who are you?" he asked. The woman stared at him for several seconds. Then she spoke a name no one in Sky Ridge Valley had heard before. "My name is Nayeli," she said, and the fear in her voice told Takoda that the true danger had not yet arrived. Nayeli's hands trembled as she sat upright on the council hall bed. Takoda noticed immediately. Whatever fear lived behind her eyes was not the fear of a traveler who had lost her way. It was a fear of someone who had seen disaster approaching and knew others would not believe her. "Tell us what is coming," Takoda said. Nayeli swallowed hard. "People?" The answer surprised everyone. Elder Maddow frowned. "People from where?" "From beyond the Forbidden Forest." Silence followed. For generations, the people of Sky Ridge Valley believed the forest marked the end of the known world. No traveler had ever returned with proof of anything beyond it. "You expect us to believe there's another kingdom?" Chayton asked. Nayeli met his gaze. "I do not need your belief. I need your help." She explained that a ruthless war leader named Dasan had united distant settlements hidden beyond the forest. For years, he had searched for a path through the cursed woods. Recently, his scouts discovered one. Now his army was moving towards Sky Ridge Valley. The room grew tense. Takoda listened carefully, but questions remained. "If this Dasan is so dangerous, why are you here?" "Because I escaped him." Before she could explain further, a horn sounded outside. A guard rushed into the hall. "Alpha King, riders had returned from the eastern watchtower." Takoda followed the guard immediately. At the tower, frightened scouts reported disturbing news. Several farms near the valley border had been abandoned overnight. Food stores were missing. Strange footprints covered the muddy ground. The enemy had already entered valley territory. Fear spread quickly among the people. Parents hurried children indoors. Merchants closed their stalls before sunset. Rumors traveled faster than facts. Some blamed Nayeli. Others demanded she be imprisoned. The pressure on Takoda increased with every passing hour. That evening, the council gathered again. "We cannot trust her," one council member argued. "She may be leading them here," another added. Takoda remained silent while the debate grew louder. Deep down, he understood their fear. His duty was to protect the valley. Yet every instinct told him Nayeli was telling the truth. The meeting ended without agreement. Outside, darkness covered the valley. Takoda walked alone along the riverbank, searching for clarity. He thought about his late father, the previous Alpha King. The old ruler had always said leadership meant making difficult choices before certainty arrived. Takoda finally understood those words. When he returned to the village, he found Nayeli standing beneath a lantern. "You should be resting," he said. "I cannot." Her voice cracked. For the first time, the confident survivor seemed vulnerable. "My younger brother is still with them," she admitted. "I escaped, but he could not." Takoda saw tears forming in her eyes. The revelation changed everything. This was no stranger seeking shelter. This was a sister trying to save family before it was too late. Then another horn echoed through the night. This time it carried a warning signal. Enemy scouts had been spotted near the northern cliffs, and they were far closer than anyone had feared. Worse, the scouts reported seeing valley maps hanging from enemy saddles. Someone had shared protected information. As fear tightened its grip on Sky Ridge Valley, Takoda realized approaching invasion was not his only problem at all. The discovery of the map sent shockwaves through Sky Ridge Valley. Only a handful of people knew the locations of hidden trails, food reserves, and defensive positions. If enemy scouts possessed that knowledge, someone inside the valley had betrayed them. Takoda ordered an immediate investigation. For 2 days, tension poisoned the community. Neighbors questioned neighbors. Friends avoided eye contact. Fear turned ordinary conversations into whispered suspicions. Meanwhile, reports of enemy movement increased. Dasan's forces were advancing steadily through the mountain passes. Takoda strengthened the watchtowers and double patrols, but each new report carried worse news than the last. The enemy always seemed one step ahead. One evening, Chayton entered the council hall, carrying a small leather pouch. His face was grim. "We found this near the northern cliffs." Takoda opened the pouch. Inside was a council seal. The room fell silent. Only council members possessed such seals. Elder Maddow stared at it. This cannot be happening. Yet it was. The betrayal came from someone trusted. Takoda gathered the council immediately. As questions filled the room, one member grew increasingly nervous. His name was Elon. For years, Elon had managed trade routes and supply records. Intelligent and ambitious, he had always wanted greater influence in valley affairs. Takoda noticed sweat forming on the man's brow. "Where were you yesterday morning?" Takoda asked. Elon hesitated. The hesitation was enough. Chayton stepped forward. "We searched his quarters." The captain placed several roll maps onto the table. Gasps erupted. Every map matched those found on enemy scouts. Elon's shoulders slumped. The truth was exposed. "You betrayed us," Maddow said quietly. Elon looked around the room. At first, shame appeared in his eyes. Then anger replaced it. "You think I wanted this?" he snapped. "No," Takoda replied. "I think you chose it." When Takoda offered cooperation instead of dominance, trust slowly formed. New alliances emerged. Shared information revealed weaknesses in Dasan's plans. For the first time, the enemy's advantage began to shrink. During those meetings, Takoda learned an important lesson. Leadership was not about carrying every burden alone. It was about inspiring others to stand beside him. As preparations continued, Bidzil remained imprisoned. The urgency never faded. Neither did Nayeli's determination. One evening she approached Takoda near the river. "You still believe we can save him?" Takoda looked toward the mountains. "I do." "What if you're wrong?" He smiled faintly. "Then we keep trying until we're right." For the first time in many days, hope appeared in her eyes. And far beyond the valley, word of the growing alliance reached Dasan. The war leader finally realized his opponents were becoming stronger than he expected. The final confrontation began beneath a sky heavy with storm clouds. From the highest watchtower in Sky Ridge Valley, Takoda observed enemy banners moving through the mountain pass. Dasan's army had arrived sooner than expected, but this time the valley was ready. Weeks of preparation had transformed fear into determination. Allied communities from beyond the Forbidden Forest had secretly joined forces with Takoda. Farmers, hunters, scouts, and warriors now stood together with a single purpose: protect their future. As the first enemy ranks advanced, signal fires ignited along the cliffs. The battle plan immediately unfolded. Hidden defenders rolled massive logs down narrow pathways, blocking key routes. Enemy formations broke apart. Confusion spread through their lines. Then Allied scouts emerged from concealed positions and cut off supply wagons approaching from the rear. Dasan's forces suddenly found themselves trapped between obstacles they had never anticipated. Yet the war leader remained dangerous. Standing atop a black horse, he rallied his soldiers forward. "Take the valley," he roared. The fighting intensified. Takoda moved to the battlefield with calm focus, directing defenders where they were needed most. Every decision reflected lessons learned throughout the crisis. Trust allies, protect people, adapt quickly. The strategy worked. Slowly, the enemy advance stalled, but one problem remained. Bidzil, the young prisoner, was still held near the center of Dasan's camp. Nayeli could not ignore it any longer. While the battle raged, she slipped through the chaos with Chayton and a small rescue team. Together they crossed rocky terrain and reached the wooden cage. "Bidzil," Nayeli shouted. Her brother looked up in disbelief. "Nayeli?" Relief flooded his face. Chaitin shattered the lock with an axe. Moments later, the siblings embraced. For an instant, it seemed victory was finally within reach. Then Dasan appeared. Several guards surrounded him. His eyes burned with fury. "You ruined everything," he snarled at Nayeli. "No," she answered. "You did." Dasan drew his weapon and advanced. Before anyone else could react, Takoda arrived. The Alpha King stepped between Dasan and the reunited family. Rain began falling across the battlefield. The two leaders faced each other in silence. One fought for power. The other fought for people. Their clash became the emotional center of the battle. Around them, soldiers paused to watch. Dasan attacked first. Takoda defended, refusing to surrender ground. The struggle was fierce but controlled. Neither man wanted chaos. Each wanted victory. Finally, Dasan's growing anger became his weakness. He lunged recklessly. Takoda sidestepped and disarmed him. The weapon struck the muddy ground. Silence spread across the battlefield. Dasan stared at the fallen blade. For the first time, uncertainty appeared in his eyes. His army saw it too. The image shattered the fear he had used to control them for years. One by one, soldiers lowered their weapons. Others stepped away from his side entirely. The downfall had begun, and as thunder rolled above the mountains, Dasan realized his greatest defeat was not losing the battle. It was losing the loyalty of the people he once commanded. Rain continued falling as silence settled over the battlefield. Dasan looked around and saw the truth he had spent years refusing to accept. His soldiers were no longer willing to follow him. The fear that had sustained his power was gone. One by one, warriors stepped away from his side. Some lowered their heads in shame. Others simply walked toward their families waiting beyond the battlefield. For the first time in many years, they were choosing their own future. Takoda stood calmly before the defeated war leader. The Alpha King could have responded with anger. He could have sought revenge for the suffering Dasan had caused. Instead, he chose a different path. "The fighting ends today," Takoda said. Dasan stared at him. "You would spare me?" "I would spare everyone for more loss." The answer carried across the field. Many expected punishment. Instead, they witnessed leadership. Dasan slowly lowered his head. Defeat settled over him like the storm clouds above. The conflict was over. As news of the victory spread, celebration swept through Sky Ridge Valley and the allied communities beyond the Forbidden Forest. Families embraced loved ones they feared they had lost. Children laughed freely for the first time in weeks. Lanterns illuminated homes throughout the valley long after sunset. Hope had returned. Among the happiest reunions was the one between Nayeli and Bidzil. The siblings spent hours sharing stories of everything that had happened during their separation. Several times, Bidzil simply shook his head in disbelief. "You crossed the Forbidden Forest alone?" Nayeli smiled. "I did. And then helped stop an army?" "With a lot of help." Her gaze drifted toward Takoda. The Alpha King was speaking with villagers nearby, ensuring every family received support during the rebuilding effort. Even after victory, his attention remained focused on others. It was one of the reasons people trusted him. In the weeks that followed, recovery moved quickly. Destroyed warehouses were rebuilt. Trade routes reopened. The alliance formed during the crisis continued to grow stronger. Communities that once lived in isolation now shared resources, knowledge, and friendship. Old fears surrounding the Forbidden Forest also began to fade. People finally understood that the forest had hidden neighbors rather than monsters. New pathways connected settlements that had remained separated for generations. The world became larger and brighter than anyone imagined. One evening, a great gathering filled the central square of Sky Ridge Valley. Music echoed between the cliffs. Tables overflowed with food. Families from every allied community celebrated together. Elder Matto watched the festivities with satisfaction. "The valley has changed," he said. Takoda nodded. "For the better." "It changed because you did." The words lingered in Takoda's thoughts. Throughout the crisis, he had doubted himself more than once. Yet every challenge had taught him something valuable. Leadership was not about having every answer. It was about protecting people, earning trust, and giving others a reason to believe. Nearby, Chayden laughed with friends while helping organize games for local children. His suspicion of outsiders had softened. The experience had taught him that loyalty could come from unexpected places. Even those once divided now stood together. As the evening continued, Nayeli approached Takoda near the river. Golden lantern light reflected across the water. For a moment, neither spoke. Words felt unnecessary. Finally, Nayeli smiled. "You changed my life." Takoda shook his head. "You changed ours." They looked toward the celebration. Families shared meals. Friends exchanged stories. Children chased one another through the square. The future no longer felt uncertain.